So it's spring gardening time, and a lot of you are going to be starting your gardens for the very first time this year. And so today I'm going to show you how to fill your garden bed on the cheap, like I have done with these brand new beds from Vigo Garden. All right, so these beds are about 15 inches deep. That's quite a lot. Really, all you're gonna need is about 6 to 8 inches of good quality soil to be able to grow normal vegetables for your garden. So depending on how deep your beds are gonna be, if you have something big like these Vigo garden beds, then you're gonna wanna do a little bit of more of what I'm gonna show you in this video. But if it's much shallower, like if a lot of times people just do cinder blocks, which is not very deep at all, then you're not gonna have to do as much as we're gonna do in this video. All right, so the first thing I did was set up these Vigo garden beds. I really like these beds because they really just go together like Legos. It's super easy. Now, if there is a downside to these beds, they are super clean looking. And so on our property, where we're gonna put these beds right outside of our kitchen as a kitchen garden, we really needed to level the ground. Otherwise, it's very easy to be able to tell that they were gonna be unlevel. So I got out the tractor and I leveled the ground. If you're just in a flat, normal suburban lot, this is not needed at all. So then the next thing that we needed to do is at the very bottom, we put down hardware cloth because we have bad issues with pocket gophers and moles and all that stuff here in Central Texas. If I was doing this back in suburbia outside of Houston, I would not waste my money to put down the hardware cloth, but here we really need to. Then the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna put down a layer of cardboard. Most everybody has Amazon these days, so this is a super easy way to put down a weed barrier, and also all of the worms and microorganisms will actually eat the cardboard. So it's actually really good for your garden. Once you put down the cardboard, go ahead and start watering it. Actually, you're gonna want to water after every single layer. The next step really depends on how deep your garden beds are gonna be. Now for us with these really tall Vigo beds, we need to be able to eat up as much space because like I said, you're really gonna be growing those vegetables. Their roots are not gonna take that much depth. So for us, we need to be able to add up some space, otherwise they're gonna cost a fortune to be able to fill it up with all garden soil. And also by doing this, it's going to help retain water. So then the next step is gonna be you wanna add a little bit of fill dirt. Now, if you're in suburbia, maybe you skim off a little bit. Maybe this is some topsoil that you're gonna put in there. For us, we have it easy. We just have sand. So what this fill dirt is gonna do is fill in all of those cracks from the log. So you really don't want to waste your money with expensive garden soil to fill in all the cracks with the logs. You can do something like a fill dirt, some kind of sand. Our topsoil is really sandy here, so we just have it all over the place. But this is not as big of a deal. You could even do some old leaves dumped in here to kind of create that layer that really fills in everything in and around the logs and the twigs. Then once again, go ahead and water this down and really just kind of make sure that everything gets settled so that it's a nice smooth layer. Now this is where you can save some money. If you have any kind of like old pots or any old garden beds that have gone dry, they've gotten weedy, now is the time to go ahead and take that dirt, take that soil from those old beds and start putting it into your new garden bed. Again, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be layering from not as important, not as expensive soil down at the bottom all the way to the top. So you want the most expensive stuff up at the top, and with these big beds, you want to be able to fill up as much as you can on the cheap, on budget. All right, so these layers I'm gonna be going over is from a guy named Nick Ferguson from the Homegrown Liberty podcast, as well as the Rare Plant Store. I'm gonna put his links down below. So then the next thing, this is whether you want to be able to spend a little bit of money or if you want to save some money, you could just get some topsoil. You could scrape it off from grass somewhere and put it on there. Or if you can afford a little bit, you can either buy some bulk container soil, or you can just go get some potting mix or container garden bed soil bagged from your big box store. That's what we ended up doing just because I wanted to be able to show something for this video. And honestly, I ran out of time to be able to make my own compost, but this is what is an easy way for you to do it. In fact, if you want to be able to save the most amount of money, is you would want to start making your compost way before you're doing your garden beds. But if you don't, it's okay. Spend a little bit of money because it's only going to need a thin layer. All right, so the next thing you want to do is figure out a way to go to a Tractor Supply or a feed store. This is going to save you some money. Ask them if they have any opened bags of any kind of grain seed or like feed or anything, or if you have any old things of flour that have gone bad. That's where I want you to put about 1/4 of an inch of a layer of that kind of old spent seed or grain seed or flour or something on your beds. Basically, that's where you're going to be able to save money, is because you're going to put a layer of food for worms, and then in turn those worms are going to eat all that food. They're going to stay in your garden bed, and then you're going to have the beautiful worm compost, all this worm poop, and then that is going to add so much free fertilizer for your garden beds. Next things are going to be soil amendments. I'd say that if you want to do this, I have links for these products that I really like I use for all of our garden beds. You do not have to do all of this. You do not have to do any of it. But if you want to be able to really get a head start for your garden beds, I highly recommend these products. So what you're going to do is a 1/8 of an inch layer of bone meal, followed by an 1/8 of an inch layer of dried molasses. This is going to be bacteria food for your garden. Then you're going to do a light dusting of garden lime, and then a light dusting of phosphate. Then you're going to go through and you're going to water all this as much as you can. If you can do rainwater, that's great. If you are on a well, that's even better. If you're not, oh well, just use whatever kind of water you have. Don't worry. What you just want to do is start watering all this down into the soil. Then what you want to be able to go and find is earthworms. So if you are in suburbia, and if you are decent location to where you can put a shovel in the ground and you have earthworms that pop up, great. You just want to be able to go find some earthworms, put a shovel in the ground, find some earthworms, and then put them in your garden right now. That's the next layer. They're going to start eating all of that food, and then you're going to cover that up, and those earthworms are going to stay in your garden bed and poop everywhere, and that worm poop is going to feed your plants. So go find some earthworms. I'm not talking about red wiggler composting worms, just normal earthworms. Then the next thing, if you have access to this, then definitely it's worth it, is if you can get a layer of local leaf mold. Basically what that is, you're going to go to find a forest or any kind of like wooded area, and if you have dropped leaves down there, you go ahead and you scrape off that top layer of dry leaves, and then what you'll see is there's a thin layer with you'll have some white moldy stuff. Get that, all that old rotting leaf forest mold, and put a layer of that in your garden. This is going to be so good for your plants. It's absolutely free. You just need to find a location, a forest, and you want that goodness that is going to be composting. You want to put that in your garden. All right, so next, if you have access to this, I highly recommend, if you can find someone that raises rabbits, I'm sure that you can find someone on Facebook, of a local rabbit breeders Facebook group. Just ask someone if you can come and get a bucket of rabbit manure. That is going to be so good. Rabbit manure is a cold manure, and that's going to allow you to put free fertilizer in your garden beds. It is so good. All right, again, after every single layer, water really well. So if you're starting this from scratch, the next two things is going to be, you might have access to it, you might not, but it's definitely time to start preparing for this. All you got to do is anytime you see a tree trimmer in your area, wave them down and say, hey, can you please drop that truckload of wood chips onto my driveway? Usually they'll be happy to do it, because then they don't have to haul it down to the dump. they can just drop it right there and they can be done with their day. But what you can do is you can then put that in a wheelbarrow, take it to your backyard and pile it up, and then over time it'll decompose. If you have that, then you can put a layer of decomposed wood chips next on your garden. Then the next thing you want to do is get all of that dried, non-decomposed wood chips, or if you just go and find bags out that people put on the curves of raked up leaves, that's going to be mulch. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find mulch to be able to mulch your garden. The leaves are not going to last as long, so if you can do wood chips, that's going to be the best thing for your garden. All right, guys, if y'all like the look of these awesome Vigo garden beds, I'm going to put a link to our affiliate link down below. It costs you nothing. It supports us. We absolutely are loving these beds. We even have another one that we haven't been able to fill up yet, but we're going to do that soon. It'll be more of a vlog type video where we'll give you a full review of these beds. Honestly, we love them. They are so rad looking. They're just a very strong metal. They have lots of different options. They have tall ones, they have round ones. You can do so many different. This is actually a 10-in-1 bed here, and already you can see what we've planted is doing great. So cool, and it's just easy. It's so easy. Lumber prices are insanely expensive right now, and these are super, super affordable beds for how long they're gonna last. All right, so I wish you all the best of luck in your gardening this season. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't, please subscribe. Also, I'm gonna put a video up right here on how we install the drip irrigation for all of our beds. All right, I'll see y'all over on that video.